Now, I told you I've been wanting to keep this whole entire channel as transparent and as real as I possibly can. We're gonna get real in this video today, especially considering last week's video where I showed you how much money I made in a month. Well, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In fact, before last month, I was barely even surviving. And I was barely surviving because I decided to gamble and risk a little bit in my life last year. Last year was one of the worst years for me. So bad that I went into some credit card debt. To this day, I am over $30,000 in debt in credit cards. And that's not including my student loans, but who cares about those? I want to share my story with you and be transparent on how all of this happened. That way you can avoid my mistakes and not fall into this pitfall. Or not, and still do it, because if I really think about it, if I were to go back in time, I would still do it again. I transformed into the person I knew I always was. I became the person who I've been chipping away at for the last 6 years to become. Today, I stand in front of you more confident than I have ever been in my entire life. I am in the best shape I have ever been in my entire life. And I have never been so much more optimistic about my future than today. So how did I get into $30,000 in debt, considering that I make over $100,000 a year, right? Well, let's go back in time. Let me tell you what happened. Before 2022, 2021 was the best year of my life as well. It was the most amount of money I have ever made. I made over $130,000 that year. It was amazing. I felt like I was walking on clouds. I was going to fancy restaurants, buying anything that I wanted, traveling. Life was amazing. And I had just bought my ATM company. I couldn't have asked for anything more. But here's the problem. The company that I was working at, we were doing so great. We did over $2 million. I think we did over $4 million in revenue in construction sales. Business was booming. But that's where the problem started to arise. The company that I was working for, the owners, they kind of took the whole entire business passively, where they took a step back and things started to fall. People started to be lazy, nobody wanted to work, and us as the salespeople, me and my friend, we were doing our part and bringing in the deals, but once we passed it on to production, it would become a headache. And I got so fed up that I quit. And I wanted to pretty much go out on my own and get my own business. And I thought to myself, what was the worst thing that can happen, right? I can always go back to selling. So I quit December of 2021 and I went out on my own. I went door knocking. I was out going to people's homes and literally knocking for 3 months straight. And this is when I realized that in order for you to succeed, you can't do it by yourself. Yeah, the margins are better when you're doing things on your own, but if you don't have a whole entire team, sales, production, marketing, all of this that is required to run a business, it can be a lot. And that's why a majority of people in my industry, most contractors, they don't get past even over $100,000, $200,000 a year because of the slim margins that they run. They don't run a whole entire team and they just don't know how to run a business. So I was out door knocking for 3 months and I don't get paid if I don't make a sale. I was able to make one sale, but I couldn't even produce that job. And slowly, I was eating away from my savings. I sold my stocks, I sold my real estate investments that I had. I was selling everything. I was running through my credit cards, just trying to pay my bills. Until one point I hit that 3rd month and I realized I can't do this. I have to go back. So I didn't go back to my old company. I went to a new company and I started working there. And they had me as a W-2 employee and I was making money and I was selling again. And then soon enough, I just felt like something was off there. So I reached out to my old company and they promised me to come back. Things were gonna change, blah, 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 blah. So I left that company to go back to this company. Considering all of that, when I went back to the new company, the company I was at for 3 months, I made some money, so I was able to stay afloat and I was living paycheck to paycheck. Also remember, this is why I invest into my ATM business because it brings in money as well. So I was literally just living paycheck to paycheck. I went back to the old company and they did somewhat change. It wasn't much of a change. Honestly, first month into it, I killed it because I was on a good one of just constantly selling and I had to sell. My back was literally against the wall where I had to make a sale. I had to make money because if I didn't, I was 1 month away from going under. And then October hit and Hurricane Ian hit and myself decided to risk and gamble again and fly out to Florida. That whole entire Florida thing, if you didn't see my video on what happened in Florida, I'll put it up here as well so you guys can see it. I got screwed by a contractor. I went there too early. I was in over my head and the grass wasn't greener on the other side. And the other day I was actually doing my expenses and that whole entire trip cost me over $6,000. Yeah, I was in Florida for about a month and a half. And the way it was going, I needed to come back. I needed to come back because I had it really good here in LA. I had it really good. I was making good money and I knew I can come back and get out of this whole entire hole that I was making myself into. So I came back, I reached out to both of the companies. They were both willing to take me on, but I decided to go back to where my mentor was at. So I went back with them and it was December. So October, November, December, that's when things start to slow down for our industry. So I was barely just making it by. Yes, I had money to like pay for my bills and have a little bit more left over, but then that's when I started to slow down on my expenses and kind of stay afloat. And that's the only way I've been able to kind of manage. And don't get me wrong, like it's tough. It was mentally draining. I was literally thinking to myself, if I don't get a sale this month, I am done. Every single month, just the constant stress of how am I going to pay this? How am I going to do this? And my back's against the wall. And it was so stressful. People don't even know what I was going through. Like it's an unbearable mental pain that I do not wish on anyone, especially if you're in the position that I'm in, which is commission only. Because some people, they don't play this game because it's not safe. You know, most people are comfortable getting a recurring paycheck every single month. I'm not, because I like to get paid based on my performance, but there's a risk that goes into all that. So coming January, like I was just continuing, hoping for that 1 month, because this is the beautiful thing about my industry. You get paid commission only and you get paid a certain percentage based on your performance. The reason I was able to take that risk in the very beginning was because I always knew I can go back to sales, and I always knew I just needed one good month and I'll be back in the game. And that's what happened this month. This month I broke 20 grand and I am almost out of this freaking hole that I've made myself into. But it wasn't easy. Like, I still have that debt and I'm slowly chipping at it, and I'll show you guys my future plans on how I'm gonna tackle this thing down. I just need to stabilize my foundation. But I wanted to share this story with you guys so you guys can see that it's not all fun and rainbows. Yeah, I made some money. Yeah, I've been making money, but I risked a lot last year. I risked a lot because I wanted a better future for myself. Financially, it was the worst mistake I ever did. And looking back at it, there was a couple of things that I could have done better where I wouldn't have landed where I am today. Like if I didn't take that Florida trip, I would have been financially okay by now. Like really okay. But it's okay, because these are the types of lessons that I encourage people to take. Maybe not at my level, but the amount of risk that you're willing to take will make you into a better person, into a better human, and allow you to really reach the level of success that you want to have. Yeah, that's what happened. I'm not into debt because I spend money on fancy cars, fancy clothes, or fancy restaurants. None of that. I just decided to play the game a little bit riskier than I should have. But that's okay, because this is all part of the process. And I'm not even upset that I went through all of this. Because of all of this, I gained so much on a personal level where I am the most confident. I have ever been because of that door knocking. Me knocking on doors every single day, I learned how to talk to anyone. I can approach anyone I want. I can start a conversation like this. I'm more confident than I have ever been because of it. So my confidence level went up the roof because of all the door knocking that I did. On top of that, my sales game went crazy. Because one of the reasons why I left my original company was because of my mentor. Now, my mentor has taught me everything that I know. I'm basically a mini him, but that's the issue. There was some type of lack of confidence with me always running appointments with him, thinking that I didn't know how to sell. So I left to prove to myself that I didn't need him, that I can do this without him. And me joining multiple different companies, selling for multiple different companies without him, proved to me that I am good. I am that good of a salesman. I can bring in that money. And everything in the past of all that previous success was because I'm that person. And that, taking that risk, taking me out of that company and gambling is what took me to realize that I am the salesman that I know I am. And it taught me one of the most important lessons ever, that little logo on the shirt, any shirt that I wear, doesn't matter, because people don't care about that. People care about you. They buy from people first, then the company. This whole entire gambling, risking thing, increase my risk tolerance. Now I'm able to play this game where, dude, I don't care. I don't care if I lose. I have nothing to lose, because if I start looking back at it, I was born with nothing. I'm willing to risk my whole entire future to gain a better future. My risk tolerance is up the roof right now, and I'm gonna take every single opportunity I possibly can to get the life that I deserve. My risk tolerance is so high because of last year. I was willing to risk everything I built, my entire home, my state, the place that I grew up in, to go to a whole entire other state and start from ground zero. That tolerance that you need to do all of that in a matter of a week. I also learned that I needed to cut back on my expenses. Now, because of all the money that I've been making, I've been spending ridiculous amounts where I'll buy anything that I want, I'll eat anything that I want, and it's great. Like, you're supposed to, right? That's the reason why we work. But when I was so put into this position where if I didn't make a sale and if I spent too much, I was gonna be done, I went back to my roots, where I realized that I was falling into lifestyle inflation and I need to keep my expenses as low as possible. Now, coming back to LA and starting this whole game all over, I realized that I have to continue that, where I have to keep my expenses as low as I possibly can, get rid of my debt, and all the money that I make, save it and invest it. Save it and invest it. Get rid of it. That is the game plan right now. Keep my expenses low. All my investment money, push. Get it out and start making more money. And that whole entire year reminded me to keep my expenses low. So it got me back into my roots of keeping my financials in order. Another thing that I learned was the fact that the grass isn't greener on the other side. You see, I left to Florida thinking life was going to be a lot better. It was going to be less expensive, less headaches. And I thought I was going to make it out there and things were going to be better. But it's not like that. It's almost like the ideology when you're driving in a freeway, right? And you're switching lane and you think that lane is going to be the fast lane because you see every single car moving fast and you get there and then it's slower than the other lane. Well, that happened. I went to Florida thinking that it was a faster lane, a faster way to make money, and it wasn't like that. In fact, going over my expenses, it cost me over $6,000 that trip. When I was there, I thought about everything that I went through to get to the position that I'm at here in LA, and I was wrong. I have it so good here in LA. I have a lot of connections. I have passive income that's growing. I've already made 6 figures. I have and am in a position where I can continue to make 6 figures if I work just as hard or even harder, which is why I'm like thinking about it. Why did I even leave? I had it really well in LA. I still do. I have it really, really well here. And I'm blessed because of it. And going to Florida gave me that perspective. And if I didn't go to Florida, I don't think I would have that perspective. Coming back here, I am so grateful for everything that I have. Everything. I don't want to give any of this away because I am blessed to have everything that I do have, because I know there's people out there that have less. Lastly, and the most important thing of the whole entire year that I learned was to trust myself. I trust myself to pull everything off that I have planned for myself. I have a long list of things that I have planned for the next 10 years. And before this trip, before last year, I had some doubt. I had some disbelief in myself, like everyone, right? I'm just like you. I'm like a normal person. I have doubt. I have trust issues. I have weaknesses just like everyone else. But that trip washed all of that away. I am more confident. I trust myself. I'm willing to bet on myself to reach all of my goals because of last year. Because when my back was against the wall, I was able to perform and I was able to push through it. And all of that, I would never give away. In fact, send me back in time because I want to do it all over again, because I am so grateful because of it, because I'm an amazing person today. But this is how I see my life. My life is like a roller coaster. When I'm going up, say 2021, life was amazing. It couldn't have been greater. And then something happens and life goes down. My life is exactly like a roller coaster. Every time I go up, it goes down. The crazy part of it all is that the lower I go, the higher I go. And the higher I go, the lower I go. Last year was the lowest I've ever been. But because I know my life works this way, I've been able to control my emotions because of it. The way I see it, as long as I stay in this ride and I don't get off the roller coaster, there's always going to be a turning point. Just like there's going to be a turning point for you. Life doesn't have to suck. It's up to you to determine your outcome. What's crazy about all of this is the fact that even though I have this big debt, I'm still grateful to wake up every single morning with the opportunity to be able to play this game. Plus, the way I see it right now, I'm reaching my turning point. Yeah, my life's a roller coaster. Every single time it goes down, and that was the lowest it's ever been, right now is a turning point, which means my life is going to get amazing. I could already feel it. The energy that I've been getting for these last couple of days, the last couple of months, it's incredible. I can't even explain it to some people. My roller coaster is going up and life is about to be a dream. Anyways, that's what's going on with me. That's why I got into debt. We're gonna get rid of this debt like this year. This is my recovery year. This is my rebound year. This is my comeback year. But if you guys love this video, if you guys want me to continue to be transparent with you, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.